All right. That was close. That was a lot closer than most people probably thought it was. Maybe some people tuned out for the Super Bowl. Speaking of the Super Bowl, we'll try to get out of here soon enough. We're not going to try to go head to head with the Super Bowl. I'm feeling I'm feeling confident, but I'm not that confident that we can hold people's attention through the Super Bowl. But for those of you who have decided to tune in and grace us with your presence, thank you very much. I appreciate it. First of all, K Money, I'm pretty sure you said you were done with the Raptors and that you were gonna go tune over, and you guys are gonna you're gonna be a Mavericks fan. I swear I thought I heard that, but I'm very happy to see that you remain a fan of this franchise. Okay, I got some thoughts. First, I do want to say that for weeks, if not months, people have said, Rob, you need to be more critical of the coaching staff. You need to be more critical of Masai and Bobby. You need to be critical of this management team. Well, I think I gave in. I think I gave in with this video that I dropped yesterday. Um, it's 37 minutes, and I I gotta say, I'm not tooting my own horn. I think it's a good video. I think you should watch it. I think you should read the comments. If you have ever wondered what the hell is this team doing and you thought, is it just me? Trust me, it's not just you. There's a lot of people out there who feel the same way you do. Check out the comments. The comment section is lit. It might take me 3 hours or 4 hours, but at some point I'm going to try to respond to more of those comments than I already have. Speaking of video content, we're going to get to the Raptors Pistons. Let's be honest, this was, there's a few takeaways from this game, but this is not overly important, right? Most of us are probably thinking about the grander, bigger picture. I do want to say that for almost a month and a half now, I have been making videos for this channel. I've more or less been doing live streams, and it's been a great way to connect with this community, but I do miss making videos. So this video is coming out tomorrow, and I gotta tell you, I love it. I love it so much. I'm really enjoying it. I decided to do a 1.5 day deep dive into Joe Wieskamp, Wheezy as they call him. And I learned so much about this dude, and it's all fun and it's awesome. And you know what? I'm not saying I wanted to make a positive video. I'm never going to make a positive video just for the sake of being positive. But the more I watched of him, the more I liked him. There's a lot of stuff about him that you're probably not aware of that I think once you watch that video, you might be pretty hyped about this edition. I really like it, and if he ever does get minutes, I think he'll surprise some people. This game was, I don't know, interesting. It got out to this interesting start, which is exactly how the Utah game started out. I believe the Utah game said 18 assists on the first 20 field goals. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was something along those lines. And tonight it was something very similar. Very similar. You know, it was awesome. Like to watch the ball movement and, Jakob Pertl being this sort of hub. Um, K Money, thank you again for the super chat. You trying to start a new movement for your super chats? You're the guy who started all this, and I got to tell you, you turned the water on. It hasn't turned off since. Every single live we're being, graced with all these super chats. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And then Fred VanVleet hits a couple of shots, and I got to tell you, it was so funny and so weird to just watch how shamelessly he hunted his own shot to the point of just looking offended at his teammates when they wouldn't pass him the ball. There was a point in the fourth quarter, some of you DM'd me, thank you very much for that, where he just looked so angry at Scotty Barnes for not passing him the ball. There was another time, I'm not sure if most of you are quoting that time, but there was a time where he runs the court and he just kind of standing there, he puts his arms up, he gets really frustrated. Then instead of doing something else, he just decides to put his hands on his head because he cannot believe that how wide open he is and he's not being found. I had a funny quote today, and to those of you who were in the last chat, I think you might appreciate the blanket in the thumbnail. I mean, can we give some credit to this? That's kind of funny, right? You see the blankets? Come on. Give me a laugh for that. That was kind of funny, right? Oh man. I gotta tell you, man, And just be honest, I've been reading your comments for a while. I just don't like you. So, we're not going to block you or anything. I just don't like you. You have nothing good to say about anything. And quite frankly, I mean, chill, bro. Like, I get it. You're a really big Pascal Siakam fan. Cool. We all have our favorite players. We all have our different understanding of what great basketball looks like. I like the fact that Scotty's hitting threes, but let's stick to Fred. The ball movement it just falls off the cliff when this guy starts doing this, and you can just feel the deflated energy on defense. Man, it was weird to watch. Then he goes to the bench, have a positive run. At one point, I believe the Raptors were up 13 or 14 points, 12 points, 13 points. And I looked over and Fred was +5. And I was just like, man, like, it's so predictable and so consistent with this guy. Anyways, I thought he was better. I really did think he was better for a little bit there. Even though he was taking a lot of shots, he was taking more in-rhythm shots. Today, it was a lot of pressing. And I got to tell you, it's kind of predictable with Fred that the next game is going to be dictated by how the last game ended. The last game ends on the air ball. A lot of people chirping at him online. A lot of people, calling him out for losing the game to Utah. And I was just like, oh my God, take Fred VanVleet on the 30 points or over, because he is going to take 50 shots until he gets those 30 points. He does not care. At this point, it is just so obvious that he does not care. All right. Now, let's talk about the defense, because that is the whole reason for playing this jumbo lineup of gigantic players, and you are honestly playing against one of the worst teams in the NBA. At one point, I looked at the Pistons roster on the court, and I'm like, what is this? What is this team? It's Bogdanovich, Ivy, Duran, Stewart. Who are these other people? Are they basketball players? Are they rugby players? What are these players? I'm not even trying to be like mean about it, like Sheikh Diallo, like whatever. Yeah, these are like fringe NBA players. Corey Joseph's still in the league. Congratulations, Corey Joseph. My God, this team is so bad. Isaiah Livers, yo, jeez, it is such a bad team. No wonder they have, and they're not even trying to win. I mean, my God, Cade Cunningham is firmly on the bench. Killian Hayes, possibly the worst player ever. Am I being harsh on that? I mean, I've watched this guy for 2 years. Kevin O'Connor, shout out. So excited about Killian Hayes. So excited about Mo Bamba. The world is falling down for Kevin O'Connor. I promise I'm not just going to talk about this game. There's a lot of cool stuff in this video. I promise. In this live stream. First, there is something very interesting about Nick Nurse that came out. And I'm going to share it with you via the True Hoop podcast. Wow, we have super chats flying off the hook. Hold on. Please give me a moment while I say thank you. Veggie Stew, appreciation for yesterday's video. Cathartic. Thank you so much. Veggie Stew, you are going to be pleased to know that video is actually a 2-part video. The second part of it is probably coming out on Tuesday. So not only am I releasing this video profile of Joe Wieskamp, which should be very, very happy and awesome and fun and features a lot of interesting videos that I'm sure most people haven't seen. And I mean, I just wanted to do something to create more awareness about who this guy is. I thought he would appreciate it too, to be honest. It's sometimes, when you're the 16th guy or 15th guy and you're this not a big name, I mean, it almost feels like you're invisible in terms of the team structure, but I thought it'd be cool to sort of celebrate him. I'd love to do a profile on Jeff Doughton at some point. Partially because I just feel bad for anyone who sits at the end of the bench and has to watch this crap. But thank you so much, Veggie Stew. Appreciate it. K-Money, this is why I miss Kyle, man. Frederick is a bum. There's a rumor that Kyle was traded to the Clippers and they couldn't get a hold of Pat Riley because he was sleeping. Is that true? Somebody please tell me if that's true. Said I can't stand him. I knew from the first quarter he was going on a Chuck Fest. Yo, for real, it's so bad. K Money with another super chat sticker. I appreciate it. Laugh my effing ass off. If Scotty had VanVleet's mentality, that goofy Doug would call him a thug, just like he did with Dwight. I'm not touching that one, but you know how I feel about it. You know how I feel about Doug and that use of that word. Yeah, it really pissed me off. All right, recalibrate. Long story short, this game was not overly fun to watch, but it was kind of hilarious to see the fainted breath at the Scotiabank Center, like Scotiabank Arena. Like, are we gonna blow this? Are we gonna blow this? Like, it gets so close, and I swear to God, if Adrian Griffin does not say don't foul on that final shot, do we give up a 4-point play to Jaden Ivey? Could it have happened? Could it have happened? Honestly, I think I would have loved to see overtime just for shits and giggles. To be honest, I think it would have been really funny, partly because it would be like, this is what happens when you do this. Partly because Jack Armstrong would be missing the start of the Super Bowl, and it would be hilarious to hear him just vent about it for 5 minutes. I think that'd be kind of funny, personally. I don't know. All right. Let's talk about this game. All right. First, let's look at the box score. So, if you brought in Jakob Poeltl to shore up your defense, congratulations. You gave up 50% from the field to the Detroit Pistons. Man, we can't stop anybody. What are we doing? 40 for 79. There's like a layup line. Gave up 38% from the three-point line. Cannot execute on a fast break. What are we doing? Unbelievable. Very lucky to win the offensive rebound battle. And, of course, to get to the line 36 times. A little bit of a home court whistle there. Good job by Scotty Barnes and I believe it was Precious Achiuwa who got to the line and Pascal Siakam. Let's check that out there. So, in terms of the Raptors, 10 free throw attempts for Pascal Siakam, 7 for 10, 7 for 10 for Scotty Barnes, who hilariously for most of the game was 4 for 4 from the field. That was sort of funny. I did make a note earlier that Scotty had been making more of an effort to get 3-point shots up, and that perhaps the addition of Jakob Poeltl taking over some of those screening assignments would lead to more Scotty being more like a predator wing. And tonight, didn't always look great, but he did feel more like a predator wing. A lot of less post-ups, a lot more dribble drive action, a lot of spot-up three-pointers, some self-created three-pointers. He doesn't have a really good percentage on those, but it was really nice to see him hit a couple. His three-point attempts started out the season like attempting more three-pointers and making more three-pointers. That sort of dipped into January, and he got better as the year went on. So it was almost like the less three-pointers Scotty takes, the better he is. But I believe that long term, he needs to have that as part of his game. I've been on the record about that like 100 times. So I am so happy to see him playing well while being like a wing, because I don't really need to know if Scotty Barnes can be a small ball center. I know he can do that. He's done it a lot in his life. What I need to see is an expanded handle package. And sometimes it's going to look pretty, sometimes it's not. Tonight, 4 turnovers, one very costly, one late. That was not great. Let's see here. More Raptors stuff. Thaddeus Young, off the bench, 4 points. Chris Boucher, 7 points. Bench, not giving you a hell of a lot. But, you could say not giving you a hell of a lot. None of them attempted over 6 shots. Fred VanVleet, 12 for 26 from the field. Oh, my God. He was going to empty the clip tonight. I made a point that I understand that in order to save face, perhaps even to save his reputation, the Raptors didn't want to deal him for Terrence Mann and a first-round pick. Bro, I would deal him for Terrence Mann straight up. I would deal him for a first-round pick straight up. I actually made a tweet earlier saying that I would have dealt him for less. I made an Instagram story saying that I would have dealt him for a photocopier, broken or fixed, and a houseplant, dead or alive. It's addition by subtraction at this point. You did not need Fred VanVleet to win by 1 point against the Pistons tonight. He knows that. We know that. Everyone knows that. Malachi Flynn, Joe Wieskamp, Jeff Doughton, Delano Banton. Literally, you could have put anyone on the court tonight with the expanded talent that you had, and they could have scored no points and taken no shots and just played solid defense. And I swear to God, this would have been like a blowout win. It's difficult for people to understand. I think just conceptually, it's really difficult to understand how a guy can score this many points and not help his team win. But he did not help his team win tonight, in my opinion. All right. The phone lines are open. Oh, man, K-Money. Thanks a lot, man. Really appreciate it. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much, man. To those of you who are basketball fans and are curious about something to do with basketball within the Super Bowl, there is a Scotty Barnes ad during the Super Bowl, which should be kind of cool. Good exposure for him, obviously. All right. The phone lines are open. And before the phone lines open, I do want to play something for you guys. It is something that I ripped, and I wanted to play it for you guys. And I think it can be something we can talk about. So Nick Nurse obviously was away today. Adrian Griffin, solid dude, took over as a head coach for tonight, and he gets. I think he's undefeated every single time he's done it. He's won. So congratulations to Adrian Griffin. I do, however, want to say that there are murmurs around the NBA that Nick Nurse may be on the hot seat, and I got to tell you, it's so unfathomable for me to be saying this right now, given where I was just 5 months ago. But such a huge part about that video that I made yesterday, right? The one that I referenced earlier about Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster and sort of extrapolating on their failures over the last 4 or 5 years. And of course, part 2, which is going to be coming out this week. So much of that has to do with the ability to pivot, the ability to take new information when it's presented to you and reformulate an opinion that you hold really dear. I got to tell you, I love Masai Ujiri. I think I actually do. I think so many people hear that critical video and they're just like, oh my God, now he's hating on Masai. I really like Masai Ujiri. I admire the hell out of him. I really admire Bobby Webster. I actually really admire Nick Nurse too. I have a lot of deep appreciation for anyone who's really great at things. And Nick Nurse is a really great coach. He's an NBA champion. Masai Ujiri is a great executive, and Bobby Webster is basically one of the smartest people in the league. He could have done a million things in the world, and he probably would have been successful at all of them. I'm not saying that I know more than these people. I'm definitely not saying that they're bad at their jobs. I'm just saying they have been bad at times at their jobs, and we should talk about it. So I think that's important. But this clip that I want to play you, it comes from the True Hoop podcast, and it is featuring Coach David Thorpe, who is extremely plugged in to various things around the NBA, and he's heard some stuff, and I think what he said is very interesting, and I obviously thought it was interesting enough to play it for you guys, and definitely if you want to hear. This is pretty much the entire Raptors segment, so I'm not suggesting that you go and necessarily have to check out the True Hoop podcast, but some stuff on there is really cool. So I'm just going to present it for you guys, and then you can, let me know in the comments what you think about it. All right, here we go.
And he's going to miss the game. And also, play your starters less. They'll be better for the whole postseason if you do that. Play guys that are fit all the time, healthy, and not tired. That's what I think.
The one team that was talked about as holding all the chips at the trade deadline was the Toronto Raptors. Everybody wanted Fred, OG, Pascal, and Masai. Was probably just playing the market to see what he could get out there, what was happening. So what ended up happening? Jakob Poeltl goes to Toronto. So they have a center now, finally, an actual center. Khem Birch, a 2024 first round in 2 seconds. Go back. Let me see.
Yeah, Khem Birch for sure.
Yes, a 2024 first round and 2 future seconds. See, memory, pretty good. All right, so that's what the Raptors did. David, how do we feel about that?
I thought it was, I don't know what his offers were, but if you think you're going to get more in the offseason, wait. Mm-hmm. What's the point not waiting? I'm a big believer that teams that underachieve, you first fire your head coach before you try new players. And I thought Nick Nurse was amazing in 2019. I wrote an article about it. They got their pop. I was wrong. He's not pop. He rubs a lot of people the wrong way. He's a weird dude. This is a quote from people I've talked to there, which is okay. He's not the only weird coach out there. That's for sure. A lot
of weird coaches.
But it's not working. So now I'd fire him right now, and I'd bring in Earl Watson, who's a tough guy, and start holding some of these guys accountable. Get Fred in line, get OG in line. Hey, if you don't like it this way, we'll trade you in the offseason. Hopefully we'll get a better deal. And then if Earl sucks, which he might, then go find the guy you want to bring in after that with some really good players that they have. I don't know that they'll do that. I don't know they won't do that. But I think Coach Nurse and his staff are gone in the offseason. And they've got, Jakob Poeltl was not as good this year as years past, but I think it's because his guys around him are just bad defensively, especially when Devin Vassell went out for the season. So I like getting Pirtle for them.
They're going to be expensive though, right? Like the Raptors are like a
They're gonna have
so-so
to.
team.
They're gonna have to get off Fred. Yeah, Fred's got to
Fred.
go. Yeah, they'll trade him in the offseason.
Do you think so? Is it Pascal and Scotty, or do you say let's move Pascal too if we get the right deal?
I think that depends on what it looks like now, but I'd be hard pressed to think they'll move Pascal over OG unless OG really comes around and is happy. He's not been happy. Can't build a guy. Can't build a guy
Why
so
is he unhappy with Nick Nurse, or is he unhappy with?
I don't know. I just know he's been unhappy since the offseason. Nick could be part of the problem, which is why.
Right, so maybe
fire
OG's
now.
back in the fold. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. Fire the coaches now, and Nick Nurse will get a job tomorrow. So I'm not hurting Nick Nurse. He'll get hired right away, as he should. He's a very good coach. It's not working out in Toronto. Let's see if you can get OG back on the fold with a new voice. And if you can, then maybe you got to look at some other things. Yeah.
So part of the things that we're hearing about OG is that he essentially is the 3-and-D type of player, right? But maybe even a little bit overqualified because he's a really good defender and a really good 3-point shooter, right? He seems to think, from what we're being told, that he could do a little bit more, right, in terms of creating off the bounce, etc. But that doesn't seem to be what they're letting him do over there.
Right. So that's why you gotta try a different coach. And Fred also thinks he's playing, he's an all-star level player, which he was last year as an alternate. And so there's just too many chiefs, too many cooks in the kitchen, as they say. Right. So this guy couldn't get them all working on the same page. Maybe the next guy can.
Interesting. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that I don't agree with everything that Coach David Thorpe has said in the past, but a lot of disagreements with him, some of them very public. Specifically, his whole shtick about how Scotty didn't work hard, which was just something that he threw on the wall, and thankfully he acknowledged later that, yes, he was just guessing. But I do want to say that he is pretty plugged in around the NBA. He does know a lot of people around the NBA, and how do I say this without getting myself in trouble? If Nick Nurse is fired at some point, I promise you that I will tell you something about Nick Nurse that I heard from a very credible source 3 to 4 years ago that is going to probably blow your mind. Or at least I think I will. Anyway, long story short, the weird dude comment threw me off a little bit. And there's I tell you, there's definitely something to that. So, K Money, whoa. Since Kawhi left, we've had 2 losing seasons, man. Siakam and Fred are just not those guys. Nurse isn't the problem either. He's not the one stopping the flow of the offense with isolation BS every 2 minutes. We got bagless players trying to ISO. First of all, thank you for this massive super chat. Really appreciate it. I do think that he has enabled a lot of this. I think, look, truth is that we all have our favorites, right? We all have people that we think are good guys and bad guys. I think it's just part of how we construct stories in our head. So in the end of the day, I believe that you might look at an offense or a defense and you say, well, this guy's the problem because I don't like this guy. And I gotta be honest, obviously, if I had to pick between who I respect more, Nick Nurse or Fred VanVleet, I'm gonna pick Nick Nurse. And because I read his book and I've listened to his lectures and I've, followed his coaching career, and I think that he's a really smart guy. So I'm gonna assume that the smart coach is being overridden by the selfish point guard. It's just a story that we create in our heads. But I do believe that this smart coach routinely has enabled so many of the worst tendencies and the most selfish tendencies in other players. And I do believe he stifled the growth of other players as well. Too often we look, I've thought, like, what's the difference? It's Fred and Kyle, that's why guys are not developing. Well, Nick Nurse, Dwayne Casey, right? I'm not going to pretend that I was a Dwayne Casey fan, but guys really developed under him. They seem to really grow and develop. Norman Powell, Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, these guys, they had a lot of growth. DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry. So much of, I believe, being a director on set or being a good coach is balancing, 2 parts of the human psyche, which is being a good mother and a good father. You know, you need to have both, right? You need to be the person who can put a hand around someone's shoulder when they're having a bad game, but you also need to be a bit of a disciplinarian. You need to be able to tell guys when they're wrong. And I think that element is clear when you see some of these development coaches. Now, Dwayne Casey, you know, when you listen to his Pound the Rock and some of his philosophies about basketball, they are pretty unevolved and, quite frankly, pretty dated. He's not a great coach, but by all accounts, he does sound like a really great person. So I think maybe guys vibe with that, and maybe at some point, you know, you just develop better when you trust your coach. Another super chat. Thank you so much. You give Nurse a real star like Kawhi. We've seen what he could do. That's all I'm saying, man. Ujiri been in love with mediocre players like Fred is a problem. He should have been gone. So the thing is that a lot, I have to say, and I believed what you believe too, right? I believe this as well. It was like, hey, Nurse kind of earned his stripes during the championship run. But then I hear stories about things that went on behind the scenes about, you know, assistant coaches and Kyle and, you know, Kawhi and Marc Gasol. And in a lot of ways, you got to be real. A lot of veteran teams, they sort of coach themselves, especially teams with really smart, headstrong, dominant vets. There's not a lot of coaching going on. I gotta be honest. Like, there's not a lot of practices. I mean, yeah, there's some level of coaching, but you can never say what another coach could have done with that. You know, Phil Jackson has won so many championships, but give him a roster without Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, he's nothing too, you know? It's how you manage that talent. And sometimes, you know, it takes a village to do that. There are a lot of times when you'll have a head coach who overperforms and people are like, wow, that guy's great. And then one of his lead assistants leaves and it's game over for him. It happens. So it's difficult because I know that we as a fan base like to judge the front office by one name and one person. We say Masai and maybe we'll say Bobby. We don't think about Dan Tolzman. We don't think about Jeff Weltman. We don't think about all the scouts. We don't think about Jama. We don't think about the development coaches. We don't think about the trainers. It takes a village. We talk about organizational stability. We don't think about Tim Lewicki enough, and we should. There's so many people that create from behind the scenes, and there's so few people that are credited for it because it's just easy for a fan base to ascribe all of their frustrations or all of their praise onto one person. Often it's what's considered the front-facing person, right? Like when you have an issue with Walmart, you don't complain to the CEO, right? You complain to the cashier or the greeter. It's the same thing, you know, it's front-facing. So, yeah, you know, Nick saying, I loved Phil Handy. Yeah, I mean, that's a good example. All right, let's get to some calls here. We have 3 calls. We got Tonius, Will S., and Mario. Tonius, thanks for waiting. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up? Man, I guess today we watched a rerun of the Mike James special from our
Who?
The Mike James special.
Who?
Mike James.
All right.
Amityville.
All right. Yeah, we did. I mean, but you know what? People look, Mike James is my all-time, one of my least favorite Raptors ever, right? Mike James, Chris Childs, there's a list. And I got to tell you, when I look back at Mike James's stats, his analytics, man, that guy was so efficient. He puts Fred to shame.
Yeah, he just goes up and just takes a pull-up 3 out of nowhere and it goes in, and then you're just like, oh, it's looking good for the game, and then it's like, oh wait, shouldn't he kind of score less because we should have gotten a lottery pick that day?
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's like, yeah, but again, like something had to relieve us from all that Mike Babcock pain. So I mean,
Did you say Mike Babcock?
Oh, is it Rob Babcock? Sorry, man. Again, kind of confused with these Toronto sports.
Rest in peace, Rob Babcock. Anyways, what'd you think of the game tonight, other than Fred VanVleet's Mike James special?
It's the same thing as you said. We started kind of hot, just like in the Utah game, but you just knew it's like, maybe if we could have, threw in a couple of spacers like Vice Camp out there, and like try him like how we tried Delano Banton, and then maybe shoot one shot or another, and then see if he maybe gets hot and then changes the dynamic, and then we blow them out. But then here's another thing that, well, we all seen it, and then hey, we all wanted to chuck our monitors or our TVs out of the window. Was like, okay, Fred, it's a 3-on-2. You got some tall guys coming at you. It's like bounce passes to Pascal. Just stop, or just like, if you don't know, if you're in doubt, just pass it out, and it's going to be a half-court set, even a crappy half-court set, but you don't have to look like a fool jumping on like 2 guys taller than you, and then like, oh, look at that. You should have just passed to the guy behind you, and then he could have gotten a layup. See? And he does this repeatedly. I thought it was going to be Gary doing it, but then no, it's now with Gary gone, it's like, okay, Fred, it's on you. If you do the same thing, it's going to look even worse because you're shorter. So, yeah, that's one of those plays I think he made. And then I think if he allowed on that fast break, I think if he passed to Siakam on the side, and probably would have been a free throws. But then it's like, as soon as that happened, they scored another 2. And then, I think if we got an easy layup, we could have blown them away. And then, I don't know. I think we're up 15. It's like, I'm always expecting just wait for this team to shoot themselves on the foot on stuff like this, and then Detroit's just going to come back because the team's just going to keep shooting itself in the foot because they want to hunt shots down, creating these 5-point swings. Yeah.
I think the most depressing part of this isn't even the offense, because I knew the offense was going to be shit. You have such terrible spacing across the board. You have no shooting. Like, what is going on here? You knew the offense was going to be bad. What's really disturbing is the defense just consistently giving, 50% from the field is unacceptable against a team like this, especially for a team that just added a big center that's supposed to be clogging up the paint. And, like, the whole upside of having these long, rangy defenders is so that you can shut down the paint. You can shut down, you can chase the 3-point line. What is going wrong with this defense?
I really don't know what this. Well, okay, with Yak, I was expecting him to do all that nice, very fundamental verticality base type of defense.
He's averaging 5.5 fouls per game so far.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, apparently he hadn't fouled out in a single game all year. I don't say apparently, he hadn't fouled out in a single game all year. Fouls out for the first time. Is it just how much the point of attack defense is putting pressure at the rim that it's basically not even possible for Yak? Can we bring Dikembe Mutombo out of retirement? What do you suggest we do?
Just a lot of blow-bys, because it's almost like, well, we see it on Scotty because he's just running out on guys. I'm like it's not Steph Curry, man. Just give him a little bit of space, and then he just like a lot, like same with Siakam. Every time they want to close out on a 3, they're always gonna just cross by too close, and then it's like, ooh, open avenue, right. And then like everything happens, either a kick out to another open 3. Just their closeouts are just horrible.
All right, man. I appreciate you calling in as always. I think were you the person who said yeah?
Yeah,
that was you, right? I appreciated that. I laughed hard.
No problem. So
you know what? This product is sometimes so hard to watch. We got K Money saying that he's so depressed that he's getting super chat stickers watching this. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh at anyone's depression, obviously, but yeah. I mean, I gotta say, it's good when callers call in and are light, because we've just watched something pretty heavy, right? So comedy is much appreciated. So thank you so much for your insights. And if you have a funny joke, you have a Raptors joke. I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No. Okay. Maybe if we've gotten Serge Ibaka, it would have been very amazing. Like he would have been like going to go like, oh, how hungry are you? Well, I'm gonna go some beef peanuts, and then hey, Scotty, my man, what do you like to eat today?
All right. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, one more is at least I'm anticipating on the February 28th, besides DeMar DeRozan, I want that Wisekamp. I just want Wisekamp to get 10 minutes and at least shoot up 3 shots. That's what I want.
That's an interesting desire. All right. Put a penny into a fountain, or a nickel. Yeah. They retired pennies, right? So put a nickel into a fountain and hope for the best. All right, Tony. Thanks a lot, man.
Okay.
Cheers. All right. Next up, we got Will S. then we got Mario, and then we got your GOAT. Finally, a Pistons game to talk about with the Pistons fan that keeps calling into our show. Appreciate it. All right, Will S. First of all, K Money, my depression kicks in every time Fred makes a three because I know he's going to shot chuck the very next play, the bet on yourself mentality. I got to tell you, man, I believe that other teams are seeing what he's doing. I believe that, the Clippers basically offering Terrence Mann, not being able to offer Terrence Mann a first round pick. I think this guy might be able to average 25, 26 points per game and still not get the contract that he wants. Maybe, just maybe, he'll be settling for a $139 super sticker to play basketball next season. I don't know. But I don't think that other teams are blind to what he's doing. I hope the Raptors are not blind to what he's doing. I think people are slowly waking up to this. And, to his teammates, credit to them, man. I'm a bit of a hothead, as some of you probably have gleaned from just listening to some of my calls with certain people, that, I can run pretty hot and cold. And I got to tell you, if I'm on the bench, I'm going to have a lot of trouble, not screaming at this guy. And I don't even care if he's, my captain or my leader. I can't imagine playing on a basketball team and not screaming at this guy every day in practice until I get waived or something. I don't know. I think he is very lucky that his teammates are so tolerant of this. And again, thank you again for the super chat. Again, K Money. Chat is going wild with K Money for real. K Money is him and stuff. Thank you so much. I don't necessarily condone or suggest that anyone hate anybody, but I feel you. I get it. All right, next up, Will S. Will S, what's up?
Howdy, can you hear me?
Howdy.
The main thing I want to talk about is the outlook for the rest of the season. It's we picked up Yak for the big body in the paint, and we needed that guy for Embiid or a Giannis. I just don't see in any world Pirtle stopping those guys in any form, and I don't even understand why picking him up if he can't do anything against those guys. He gets blown by, no problem, how we've been seeing. And it just doesn't. Why didn't we go for a better center like Miles Turner or somebody like that could do maybe a better job? But I just.
So you think that his defense is not good enough, basically?
Well, I just don't. How can he compete against Embiid? Is there any shot? If somehow we face them in the playoffs.
Okay, I'll ask you a question with a question. You ask me a question, I'll ask you a question. Can you name me a center that you genuinely believe can stop Joel Embiid?
No. That's
okay. So what are we talking about?
Fair enough, yeah.
Right? You're not going to stop Joel Embiid. What Jakob Poeltl can do on Joel Embiid is he can buy you time. He can buy you fouls. He can buy you a little bit of time. He can maybe make Joel Embiid 2% less effective than he usually is against someone like Precious Achiuwa. The problem is that on the other end, right, you're not going to be able to pull Joel Embiid out of the paint, and he's a really good shot blocker too. And so if he's on Jakob Poeltl, he's going to be hanging around a dunker spot, and it's going to make life really hard for the rest of the team. So yeah, in a vacuum. And, look, I went back and I listened to Masai Ujiri's interview, and I listened to Bobby Webster's interview, and I genuinely wanted to play that interview for you guys today, but I suggest you just go on Sportsnet and look at it. I think maybe while we're talking, I'll be able to pull it up. It was on Tim and Friends, and he talked about how he sort of owed it to, this team, right, to get them some help. And it's so I can hear your exasperation in your
No,
yeah, I feel it. And it was so interesting that he said, he's someone who's familiar with the guys on this team, and it's sometimes people slip, they say something that they shouldn't have said, and it just became so transparent and so obvious who Jakob is really for. He's for Pascal and he's for Fred. Yeah. He is for those guys because ultimately he helps those guys more than he helps anybody else. He sets screens. Obviously, you saw Fred VanVleet just getting clean look after clean look. yeah, that's one thing he can really do for your offense is he can set really good screens. He's probably your best screener. Actually, I don't even say probably. He is your best screener. He's also a pretty willing passer. He's also a guy who doesn't take a lot of shots. Do you know what all of that equals? That equals winning more and more shots for Fred and more efficiency for Fred and probably less defense and less burnout for Pascal. I mean, these two basically went into Masai's office and said, we need Jakob Poeltl because Jakob Poeltl is going to help us win. And I don't know if that conversation really happened, but in my mind it did. And Masai Ujiri said, wow, these two champions care so much about winning. And then they came out of the office and gave each other props and said, Jakob's going to get us paid.
Yeah.
It's almost like, honestly, man, Jak knew these guys when they were really young. 4.5 years changes people. You can almost see him sometimes get on the post or find himself wide open underneath the basket and just look around like, Kyle used to make these passes to me, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. K Money, it's 3 a.m. here, so good night, broski, and good night, chat. Yo, K Money, where are you from? What? 3 a.m. Where the hell is it 3 a.m.?
Don't ask me.
Hold on. It's 6:30. What? I don't know why. K Money, you sounded very much like a Toronto dude.
PI?
No, what?
I
What
don't know.
Yo, whoa. PEI. PEI is in Canada, man.
I know. I'm like, they're ahead.
Oh. You're in Kenya.
Fair enough.
Okay, that's okay. That makes sense. Took a trip on a private jet. Did you take a private jet? That's awesome. All right, man. Have a good night, yo. Well, yeah, so I don't I don't necessarily have any answers for you as to how Jakob Poeltl is supposed to elevate this team, but I can tell you that he will absolutely help the performance of certain players on this team that are desperately looking to get paid. And more Jakob minutes means less Chris Boucher minutes, less, Precious Achua minutes, probably less OG minutes, probably less Gary minutes, right? So basically more Fred and Pascal being able to shoot because now they have a person in the lineup who, like Scotty, likes to pass the ball. Jakob likes to pass the ball. Scotty likes to pass the ball. OG likes to pass the ball. Those are the three guys who are going to start with Fred and Pascal. Are you starting to get the picture?
Yeah, this is not a fun team.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough for the rest of the year. And
yeah.
So, all right, that's mainly it. It's just like, we heard this before. Let's give these guys a chance. We owe it to them. Heard that in the Tampa Tank year.
Yep,
but
exactly.
it's tough. So appreciate the work you do. Have a good one.
Thank you. Cheers. All right, next up Mario, and then we got your goat. Mario, what's up?
Hey, how you doing?
Not too bad.
Okay, good. Listen, this is my first time calling. I've been listening to you for off and on for a month or two.
Mm-hmm.
And just before I start, I want you to understand where I am, which is on the West Coast on a small island. I'm on a laptop with no battery, a used laptop with no battery, and I have very sketchy internet, so you never know, like I'm here now, but you never know. And I was born in the T dot there,
mm-hmm.
and have been a fan of numerous sports teams there for the time.
You're kind of going in and out, but just wanted to let you know that.
I'm skipping in and out already, am I?
Yes, a little bit.
Well, if we're going to do this, because I have 6 or 7 major different topics that I could have a conversation with you about that I'm interested in having a conversation with you about, but I don't think we're going to get it all done all at once. So maybe I need to get an external microphone or something to try and support. Anyway, we'll figure that out slowly. I wanted to share with you my experience of the things that you've been talking about. To a large degree, I agree with you, and still, for me, I don't find you patient enough.
And with the team or with callers?
Both, but those are separate conversations. But you see, I heard Masai. I'm pretty sure I heard Masai. I often just have things playing in the background and I'm doing something, so I don't have my whole attention. So I don't always, not always sharp on what I heard.
Mhm.
But I'm sure I heard Masai say, some of us have been playing selfish basketball. And to me, if I'm right about who that guy is, that's a loud statement for him. This is unacceptable and we need to change. And it's just that there's so many egos that he's not going to go and natter at people all the time, right? And he's not going to call them out in the press. And if he does, he's destroying his value on trade.
Mario, I'm just going to ask you to sort of get to a point here. I'm not trying to be rude, and you've already accused me of not being patient, and I'm not being patient with your point, so I appreciate the irony there. However, this is a call-in show, so we do need to get to a point here that you want me to talk about. This is not talk radio. This isn't you talk for 35 minutes and we all listen to what you have to say. This is a conversation, so let's have an actual conversation. What are you asking me? What do you want me to talk about?
Okay, so I think I'm doing that, but that's okay. So no, you don't feel I'm doing that. Okay.
Not really.
I heard Masai say that we played selfish basketball. I don't think Fred is going to be re-signed in Toronto.
Neither do I.
Okay.
I really hope not. I'm going to do my best to make sure that the public opinion on him is so clearly transparent that they cannot sign him. That Masai says to MLSE board, I want $120 million for him, and they give him a McDonald's coupon and say, give this and see if he'll sign. Honestly, I do not want to see this guy on the next iteration of the Raptors.
Yeah, and I think the signing of Pirtle is going to preclude that, and they're going to sign him.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think they would have traded for him if they didn't intend to sign him, but I also think that he's a really awkward fit.
I see him as our backup center in 2 years behind Koloko. And as a backup center at $16-18 million a year on a new CBA with an expanded luxury tax, I think he's a good player on a good value.
You think that getting rid of, well, no, let me get this straight, a top 6 protected 2024 draft pick, and multiple second round picks in a draft that is full, and I do mean full, and I say this as someone who has scouted this draft extensively, of potential guys who could be backup bigs tomorrow. For a guy who is 27 years old, will soon be 28, will be 28 to start of next season. I want to just caution this. 28 years old at the start of his new contract. If you sign him to a 3-year contract, you're getting probably the last bit of his prime because he's not going to be the same player at 32. So, sorry, are you trying to say something? I can't hear you.
I was just agreeing. I was saying, yeah.
Yeah. So why not just, if we look at the trend in the draft, there are 2 types of players that are consistently being undervalued in the high lottery, late mid first round. And that's bigs, kind of like Jakob Poeltl like bigs, unskilled bigs who don't shoot. And not to call Jakob Poeltl unskilled, but non-shooting bigs, non-super bursty mobile bigs. So basically Jalen Duren on one hand, and then Luka Garza on the complete other hand. Those players are often sliding to the end of the first round, beginning of the second. Chances are you traded 3 draft picks, each of which could have netted you a Jakob Poeltl. I don't think that's good value. So I do not agree with this trade. I will give it a D. And quite frankly, after seeing him a little bit more, I give this an F.
Okay. So the reason I feel differently is that I think we need that as a generality, professional basketball teams need leadership from veterans and to teach young guys slowly how to play.
So sign Serge Ibaka. He's free. He's free right now. What can Jakob Poeltl teach Christian Koloko that Serge Ibaka cannot teach Christian Koloko?
Well, I think what Jakob can give you in the meantime is a 500 team for the next 2 years when we weren't going to win anyways, when Scotty and Precious and Koloko are learning, where the whole organization is not under pressure to change because they're losing. So they both need to stay as a winning team and then develop for the future. And to me, you're not patient with we need to stay as a winning team in the short term.
Gotcha. Okay, well, thanks for calling in, Marco. I mean, sorry, Mario. I apologize, Mario. I don't agree that we need to keep winning or keep some semblance of 500 basketball to appease, short-sighted people. No offense to anybody who believes that, but I believe that that's short-sighted. This draft is extremely rich on talent. This team is void of high-end talent, in my opinion. There is a talent deficit. And, you talked about the CBA and getting cheap contracts and reasonable contracts. Well, an 8th or 9th overall pick under team control for 7 years is a hell of an asset for a team, for a brain trust and a front office that usually drafts really well. I do not appreciate, making our pick worse this year in order to appease this core, because obviously Fred and Pascal are going to have a much easier time negotiating their next contract if they're not on a 28-win team. And I believe that this is a favor to them, a concession perhaps. And I also don't appreciate getting off a 2024 draft pick when, in fact, I think that that was a pretty valuable asset to get off of, especially when I think that it's a very good chance that we could end up in the lottery again next year. So I'm just saying that. Anyway, thanks for calling in, man. I really appreciate it. Hopefully in future shows, you'll have a slightly more, it'll be easier to hear you consistently, and maybe we can get to some of your other talking points.
All right. Have a great day.
Cheers, Mario. Thanks a lot. Okay. And Yurgo, what's up? Sorry, I kicked myself out of the studio. What's going on, man?
Yeah, I was wondering what happened because I got kind of scared. No, but good. I really did like the game. It was pretty competitive, filled with runs. But I was pretty impressed with my team, especially offensively. Um, Raptors. I mean, I thought they were gonna blow us out kind of after the first quarter, seeing the ball movement, how well Fred was shooting, and
Mhm.
then and third, fourth quarter, I just saw more ISO ball like normal Raptors play before, like not playing with ball movement, and I'm like, I mean, I don't like how they're playing, and Bojan just went crazy, started shooting threes and making them. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was a pretty good game. I expected less of the Pistons, and they kind of impressed me a little bit offensively, but defensively, no, they were horrible.
Um, yeah, I mean, I heard that stat about Jalen Duren, 30 points, 15 rebounds. How do you feel about him? I really liked him coming into the
Mhm.
draft. I really
Yeah.
liked that you guys. So what have you learned about Jalen Duren so far this year?
I've really been impressed with his defensive ability. I really do like he's not slow footed. He's kind of quick, so he's able to guard pretty well. He's a good blocker. um, and offensively, and he has kind of impressed me. I thought he has games where he goes like 20 and 30 points, and I'm like, wow, he looks like Andre Drummond sometimes, but like I'm not saying they're the same player, but like
Is that a good
that's
thing? I'm sorry. Andre Drummond is a very triggering topic for me. Is that a good
yeah.
thing or a bad thing?
It's kind of difficult because in the regular season I liked Andre Drummond, but in the postseason I absolutely hated Andre Drummond because he would consistently disappoint everyone,
Hmm.
especially in the Milwaukee series. Brooke Lopez killed us offensively and defensively. Like it was a horrible series. But I actually have a question for you. It's kind of like a two-part question.
Mm-hmm.
So, which player were you really impressed with this game for the Detroit Pistons? And I'll tell you the player that I really liked this game for the Toronto Raptors.
Um, not Killian Hayes.
Oh no! Don't remind me of him, bro. He was horrible. I
I'm
was
sorry.
screaming. I was
I'm
screaming.
sorry. It's like, it's hard to get into the NBA, but man,
Yeah.
there are like 8 dudes in like a local prison who are better at
Uh-huh.
basketball than Killian Hayes. I do not understand why this guy is on the NBA court. I
Well,
don't understand why you guys keep
yeah.
starting him. I don't know who he has pictures of or what compromising images he
Uh-huh.
has. Like, I've seen 3 weeks of evidence that he is a basketball player that deserves to be in the NBA. I'm just being straight.
Yeah. He's
Maybe.
inconsistent, very inconsistent. Like, yeah, he has good games where he goes like 20 points and like 5 rebounds, but then he goes on like a 3-game stretch, 4 points on 1 of 10 shooting.
Yeah. In terms of offense, I can't really say who I really liked on the Pistons. I mean, I may be partial because I do like Jaden Ivey. It's just as a player I like him. Bogdanovich is just he's so methodical, right?
Yep.
He's sort of like he just slices you. He's ironically it's just a Balkan thing at this point, right? Jokic,
Yep.
Luka, people probably expect to go to the former Yugoslavia and just see people crawling around on the street, not moving at all.
I have a question. Are you Balkan?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, listen, I'm half Turkish, by the way.
Oh, that's cool.
Half Mexican, half Turkish. I'm a weird breed, but yeah.
Weird breed. In terms of like players that I really liked on the Pistons, like I think Bogdanovich killed you on defense.
Yeah.
Like he was just giving up. So I like Alec Burks.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably the player that I liked the most. I think he gave the Raptors a few problems. I like the fact that he kind of went at Fred VanVleet a little bit. Yeah, so that's who I liked. Who did you like on the Raptors?
Well, for me, it's kind of like it's Scotty Barnes, in my opinion. Every single time I see him play, I just kind of start feeling like, man, I wish we had him on our team because.
Would you have drafted him first overall?
I mean, looking back at it, yes. I love Cade Cunningham, but looking at how he's played with the Pistons offense, I just prefer a guy like Scotty Barnes who's long, fits in the NBA system, and he can provide a lot offensively and defensively. Cade Cunningham has been kind of disappointing for me defensively throughout his 2 seasons.
Yeah, well, if he gets healthy, don't worry. I think you
Yeah.
guys will have a solid starter. I don't project beyond solid starter, maybe a 1 or 2 time All-Star if he really, really puts it together. But yeah, I'm not seeing superstar upside from him at all. And I hope for you guys' sake that he gets healthy and that you guys pick up a good draft pick this year.
Yeah. I do see superstar in Killian Hayes. I mean, he has all of the qualities in terms. I'm joking. I'm being sarcastic.
Of course you are.
He's
Okay.
horrible. But
Yeah. Abu said, "Would you trade Cade for Fred?"
No, I would not. No, please.
Can we make a trade? Would you trade Killian for Fred?
Of course. Wait.
Okay,
that's
amazing.
not a
Thank you. Let's make that trade happen right now. I
I'll
will trade
trade
you Fred for a
wisely.
freaking photocopier. Let's make that Kyle Korver trade happen again. Remember
Yeah.
Kyle Korver got traded for a photocopier?
Oh yeah. I remember.
Yeah, same thing.
I know.
Same
but,
thing.
I mean, I personally don't like the fit with Fred VanVleet and the Pistons. But I mean, if we can trade Killian Hayes, then I'll be more than happy to trade Killian Hayes because I mean, what we missed out on is just Tyrese Halliburton. We
I
missed
know.
out on-
That's messed up, man. You guys
Yeah. I mean, I made like a whole Google Doc investigating of all of the players that the Pistons missed out on the draft. Like there's like 20 players minimum that are great players who have, all-star capability that we
Mhm.
missed out on for, Stanley Johnson or Henry Ellison. So it's really frustrating as a Pistons fan, as I mentioned before. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, I was really hoping that Casey could really, motivate the troops and get them a win. I was like, oh my God, Dwayne Casey, I promise I'll apologize for every negative thing I ever wrote about you in all your years in Toronto. If you just get this win for your Pistons. Unfortunately, he couldn't do it.
Yeah,
Couldn't do it.
you wanted the tank to continue on, right?
I really did. I wanted the tank to continue because I got to tell you, I'm looking at this roster and I'm like, there's no way in hell. Like, the Bulls are freaking falling off a cliff. The Pacers just cannot win a game right now.
Yeah.
The Orlando Magic, albeit have been better lately, but they're probably not going to catch us. I mean, we could probably win 5 more games this year. Maybe, okay, that's cap. We could probably win 8 more games this year and probably still finish 10th. Like, somehow we could
the
still
East
finish 10th.
The
And
bottom half of the East is weird.
It's so stupid. No, I mean, because I'm looking at like last year, I believe, someone correct me if I'm wrong, correct me, but I believe the standings, it was 39 wins or 43 wins to make the play-in. It was a high bar. Like this year, it might be 35.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, like I just feel like the Raptors really missed out on an opportunity to tank now,
Yeah.
because that's what I would have done. I mean, I would have like get Fred out of here, even Pascal at certain times. I just feel like you guys could have missed an opportunity, and for my team too, I feel like we could have traded Bojan for a lot instead of trading Sadiq Bey for James Wiseman. But you know,
What if the trade falls through for you guys?
no, it
Because
has fallen through. The Warriors, like, they still are going through with the trade. They don't care that Gary Payton is missing 4 months. So
he's going to miss 4 months.
yeah, 3 to 4 months. That's what they said.
So they basically traded James Wiseman for nothing.
Yep, which is a good thing. I mean,
I mean, I love Gary Payton. So, I mean, kudos
yeah,
for
me
them
too.
and good for them for continuing on with that. But
I mean, the
yeah.
Blazers are just kind of weird, like giving Toradol shots and all that for him to continue on playing. And they didn't even mention that they did that to the Warriors. So that put the whole trade in jeopardy. So they're kind of weird.
Yeah. Tamberlin here. Did you hear Coach Thorpe was calling Nurse to be fired? Yes, Tamberlin. I played literally the entire clip for the chat. So, yeah. Yeah, look, I wish you luck with James Wiseman. Tamberlin wanted to ask, if Duran is so good, why do you think that your Pistons, as a sort of final question for you, why do you think that your Pistons are going after Wiseman and Bagley?
So, actually, not Dwayne Casey. What's the GM's name? I forgot. Troy Weaver. He came out and he said, well, if we look at the East, a lot of teams have like a lot of centers, like, power forwards, the centers, and this and that. And we went after James Wiseman because that's what we need in the league to be competitive. And I'm like, I don't have a problem with getting James Wiseman per se, but it's getting rid of Sadiq Bey. And like they have a plan to start James Wiseman, which they have to now because Jalen Duren got injured. But even if Jalen Duren wasn't injured, there were reports put out that we were going to start James Wiseman either way. So that really ticked me off because I was already mad at us trading Sadiq Bey, who I really like, for James Wiseman. And now that he's going to start over Jalen Duren, who has proven a lot to this franchise, who's proven to the fans, who I really do like as the starting center, you're just going to put him over him like that?
I just want to understand, like, how much you think Duran is better than Wiseman. 'Cause, I mean, I definitely think he is.
Yep.
Would you trade, hypothetically, let's say in another universe, would you have traded Jalen Duren for James Wiseman plus a first round pick?
No.
Would you have traded Jalen Duren for James Wiseman and 2 first round picks?
Still no. No.
Okay, that's good to know.
Because
I agree. I honestly think
Yep.
James Wiseman and Killian Hayes would be the first and second worst players in the NBA. It's very possible. They are so aggressively bad. I
And
do
also,
not
I mean,
understand.
Yep.
Like, there should be a documentary created about, and I mean, in all honesty, like, I listened to Troy Weaver talk about the draft of Luka Garza and Cade Cunningham, and I've listened to him quite a bit, introduced Dwayne Casey, and I genuinely felt like the guy might not understand exactly what he's doing. And after seeing him trade Marvin Bagley and James Wiseman, I'm like, oh, he really doesn't know what he's doing. I really like Sadiq Bey. I gotta be honest, I really like Sadiq Bey on your roster, and the fact that you guys moved him, sad. It's just sad. Anyway,
It really is. I
yeah.
was depressed when that happened. But even,
Yeah.
I mean, you said that. I mean, Duran is just better than James Wiseman in terms of his post play, rebounding, and
Yeah.
just defense.
Gone. Okay,
Oh, no.
Gon. Wiseman is good. Hold on. First of all, listen, I've been watching your comments like the entire way through, and I got to tell you, it gets more disturbing and more disturbing. You were talking about UFOs, right? Which was pretty disturbing, right? Then you started talking about something else, and that was really disturbing. But now you have hit rock bottom with the most disturbing comment in the history of this chat. And I want to say that we've been doing live shows for 2 months, and this might be the single most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life, which is James Wiseman is good. What are we talking about here?
He should pull up and explain that to us because
you
that's
need to
horrible.
explain yourself, sir, because Wiseman is honestly one of the worst players I've ever watched play basketball.
Yep.
Like, anyone who talks shit about Darko Milicic, Kwame Brown, bro, move over. You have no idea how bad this guy is.
Yeah.
Jesus.
You should
All
you
right.
should make a documentary on how bad Killian Hayes and James Wiseman are.
I feel like you could start Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and Michael Jordan next to those two guys and probably still lose.
Yep.
I swear to God, they're so bad. All right. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, Yurgo. Thanks for calling in, man.
Thank you for letting me on, man.
Yeah, of course. Have a good one.
You too.
Congrats on the win. I was gonna say congrats. Congrats on the win. It slipped. I'm sorry. Congrats on the loss, but of course, because y'all are tanking too. Congrats on the win for your tank.
Congrats on the win for the Raptors, consistently being in no man's land. So they're confusing me, to be honest. But yeah.
They're confusing all of us. All right. Thanks a lot, man.
All right.
Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Okay. What is this potential? What potential? What is this potential thing that every single time you see an athlete who can run and jump, you assume that they can play basketball? This is not fucking high jump, man. Playing basketball requires actual like vision and coordination and attention to detail and work ethic and basketball IQ. Like, why does everyone assume that just because a guy can do like a 400-meter dash really quickly, can lift some weights and do like a 42-inch, vertical leap, that he's really good at basketball? Sorry, this gets me like really frustrated because this concept of like athleticism has dominated the draft. And time again, you watch guys get overlooked in the draft, like Luka, like Nikola Jokic, like guys like this who are super coordinated. They have great hand-eye coordination. They're very balanced athletes, but they get overlooked because some guy runs faster. Do you know that 9 out of the 10 slowest players in the NBA in terms of tracking speed are actually all superstars? Did you know that? And that none of the 10 fastest players are superstars? Did you know that? I'm just saying. Wiseman sucks. Anyway. MK, Wiseman looks like he doesn't like basketball. I don't know, man. Anyway. I have complicated thoughts. Look, I want to talk very briefly about where the season's headed because let's be honest, we're going for play-in, right? There's no way we're going to be worse. We're not going to be bad enough to out-tank the Pacers. Frankly, if 5 teams in this conference pull the plug, you make the play-in by default. That's just the reality of this stupid play-in tournament. I'm not a fan of the play-in. I just want to throw that out there. I'm not a fan because you get like... It makes it too easy in a weird way. Like, you have all these fans right now of the Orlando Magic who are honestly a terrible team. I mean, they're not a terrible team in terms of talent and assets and whatever, but they're a terrible team in terms of record. And they're like 3 or 4 games away from like, oh my God, we're in the play-in. Like, it makes it, I guess in a weird way, I understand that it restores some sort of an idea of competitiveness in the NBA, but it's a facade, you know? It is a facade. And while I understand introducing this bit of drama and it's good for ratings or whatever, I'm being biased. I just hate it because I think that the Raptors would probably have pulled the plug on this season already if that 10th spot didn't exist. Because there's no fucking way that they're catching 7th or 8th, right? I mean, can we be real? I mean, okay, maybe there is. I don't know. But after watching this team win against the Detroit Pistons by 1 point, lose, what was it? There was a crazy stat that I saw the last game. The Raptors led for 46 out of 48 minutes against the Utah Jazz. They literally lost the 2 minutes. They led for 44 minutes. There was 2 minutes of ties, and like the Utah Jazz led for about 2 minutes. I believe the stat was that. And they lost that game. It's crazy. I agree. Yes, I agree. Playoff experience would be really good. And one of the biggest takeaways from Masai's press conference was that, the positive part of it, that I really understood, which was that when he said play-in for what, I think the answer for what has been answered. It's for development. Because the previous team that could have made the play-in, which was the Tampa team, right? number one, they would have been playing the playoffs or the play-in in front of not Toronto fans, which means that I guess MLSE would not benefit monetarily from that play-in berth. Number two, which was important, which was they had Kyle Lowry, Kem Birch, for much of the season. They had Aaron Baines. They had a lot of guys on that team that frankly were not part of the future going forward, and they didn't really need playoff reps. However, once you add Scotty Barnes, Christian Coloco, Precious Achua, I mean, this team has done a much better job recently of stocking up young talent. And comparing this team to that Tampa team that didn't tank, yeah, it is different. And you can make a case very legitimately that if this team can go on go on and win 20 more games this season, that, it would be great to get some playoff reps for some of these younger guys. I do agree. However, I also believe that a significant part of the development would be to have roles that are complex in the playoffs, right? And given the contract situations that we are currently facing going into the offseason, I do not see a way in hell that Scotty Barnes is going to be given an opportunity in the playoffs to be an initiator. I believe this is going to be Fred and Pascal show, maybe a little bit of Gary show, maybe a little bit of OG. And I think that'll be a shame. I think it'll be a shame because those guys are going to want to have a really big series so that they can get paid. And it's going to just be a much more aggressive extension because then the whole league is going to be paying attention to what they're doing because they're going to be on national TV every night. And Fred's going to be like, all right, I really stunk it up in the last playoffs. I don't even think you want to see Fred in the playoffs this year, man. Like, if you thought last year was bad, like, if he's healthy this year, he's going to go for 50 every single night, and you're going to lose every single game. So, I don't know. So that's sort of my take on that. Anyway, let's bring on Coach Mo as our last caller of the day, and then we can call it a day and go watch the second half of the Super Bowl. What's going on, Coach?
Yeah, it's watch the game. Same thing happened. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Same thing that happened in the Jazz game. Got a lead, played the right way, and then we go back to the selfish basketball. And I found it funny in the late in the fourth when it feels like there's a blowout. You can tell our two guys, our main leaders. It's like when there's a decent amount of gap between us, and especially against a bad team.
They let the other team in?
What they do is, they start to get their numbers up because you can tell they're conscious of where they're at, numbers-wise, right? So Siakam started to call his number a lot to get to a decent amount, right? So it's just – but, yeah, what you just said was very true. If we go to the playoffs for experience, it's not experience for Barnes. If you think shutting him out now is bad, I agree. Wait till the playoffs because guys are looking for paychecks, and playoffs is where you make your money. So it's going to get bad.
No, I completely agree. And, I hate watching it. But then, somebody messaged me on Instagram, you know who you are. And they said, did you just see Fred get upset with Scotty for not passing him the ball? And Scotty just looked him off like he didn't care. And, look, that's the majority will side with Scotty. I firmly believe it, right? When you start to look, even when you game the system against them, right? It'll be Thad, Yak, Fred, Siakam, and I don't know, maybe Chris Boucher on one side. And it's like 10 other guys on the other side, and they're not fucking with these guys, right? Maybe Malachi will join the vets. It's a little bit of a war, within that locker room. There's always been factions this year. We've heard it. I've heard it from a lot of people who cover this team. They're like, go into the locker room, and there's like one side, and then there's another side, and there's guys talking amongst themselves, and the guys talking about themselves. And you see it in how they sit on the bench. Defense is all about communication.
Yeah, they had Scotty guarding
Jaden Ivey.
Yeah,
a lot.
Guy, he's so quick. It's not an effort thing. That's just like physics.
I think he tried really hard and did a commendable job
That
first.
dude's just way too quick. Like,
Yeah, he's one of the quickest players in the NBA.
Yeah.
He's
With the
hands
way the
down.
rules are, Scotty doesn't stand a chance of keeping him in front of him for more than like 3 seconds.
Do you think he did an okay job though?
I think he did, yeah. And Pirtle, when Pirtle was on the court, Pirtle was in rotation, so it was good. But keeping him in front of him, that's not possible. It's like literally impossible.
Mm-hmm.
But and
Yeah.
what's with the team's obsession with playing Thaddeus Young?
I don't know.
No Wieskamp. I mean, like I like Thad. I like Thad as a person, and he had a pretty good career. But
Mm-hmm.
do we need a fourth power forward on the court, or can we just play Wieskamp? I don't understand this.
Yeah. You know, my favorite part of the night. Probably my favorite part of the night. It was weird and so telling. So I don't know how much of the show you caught. Did you catch the beginning?
Yeah.
Did you catch the part where I said I went on a deep dive about Joe Wieskamp and I basically
Yes. And you're making a video.
Yeah, I actually already made the video, so it's gonna come out tomorrow. I'm really excited about this. Like, I cannot tell you how much I like this guy, but I like him a lot. And I actually didn't like him at all when we signed him. I sort of ignored it. But there's so many connections that he has to this team, and so many good things that I learned about him over the past couple of days. And I got to tell you, the funniest thing, the coolest thing I learned about him was just how secure his background was coming up. Like, you know, about his family, about his parents, his coaches, his journey. And he is just this really like confident dude. Like, he's really confident, and it's really cool to sort of listen to him talk about, you know, going through the draft process and, you know, being underrated and being overlooked. And Kayla Gray talks about how she asked him what his nickname was because Fred had nicknamed him Joe Exotic, right? Which is such a controversial and stupid nickname, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm being straight up, like, I don't know much about the Joe Exotic thing, but I do know he's a very controversial figure. And she asked him, you know, Fred nicknamed you Joe Exotic. Is that okay with you? And he said, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love the fact, and it's such a small thing, and I feel like it might be more deeply appreciated by, you know, if you had been sitting next to me as I was watching all these interviews about him. But I was like, that's such a Joe Wieskamp thing to do, because he's not just going to take you giving him a nickname that he doesn't like. He's actually going to tell you, no, this is my nickname. This has been my nickname. I appreciate that about him. I have a feeling that Joe Wieskamp and Scotty Barnes are going to be really good friends.
I was
Just
about
a
to
feeling.
mention that. I was about to mention that. Do you remember the one time he played for us, the stretch? Do you remember?
Yeah.
It was in
Yeah.
Minnesota. It was in
They had
Minnesota?
all the vibes. Like, I'm telling you, like, and I'm gonna make sure that Scotty knows about it too, because it's like this. I don't know. I'm excited about this video. I'm just saying that I'm excited about the video because I really just, I wasn't expecting to find out so many good things about him, but it's just like, the more I watched his tape from Iowa, the more I watched his tape from high school, I was just like, yo, this guy actually has a chance. Like, he has a real chance. He's switchy. He's a really good rebounder. He, you know, he's a lights out shooter. I mean, this guy shot 46% from three in college. 46%.
He was shooting that one time he was on the court with us. He shot like he was JJ Redick on fire.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, for
that's
sure.
the confidence he had on the move.
I was listening to a pre-draft interview of his, and he talked about how he's coming to the league at the perfect time because of success of guys like Duncan Robinson. And he mentioned one of my favorite players, Kevin Herter. He mentioned Kevin Herter, and I was just like, this guy gets it. He gets it.
Mhm.
And there was this really funny, slightly Larry Bird moment with him where he was asked in an interview, like, what do you think, like, people, you know, kind of get wrong about you? And it was like, I think people just assume that because I'm white, I can't play defense.
Hmm.
And I just found that to be such a funny thing, because that is a bit of a stereotype, right? White shooters can't play defense. Doug McDermott, like, there's a healthy sample size, but people will be very surprised to know. Okay, let me ask you a question. You've seen him play a couple times. What would you guess his wingspan is? Just ballpark it. He's 6'5", 6'5", he's 6'5" and 3/4 barefoot. What do you think his wingspan is?
6'11".
Correct. On the dot, 6'11". Wow. Okay, what do you think his vertical is? Max vert.
Max vert. I'm gonna say 30.
Go up.
Really?
Yep.
35.
Up.
40.
Up.
Wow.
Yep.
What is
42
it?
inch, man. 42 inch vert.
I gave him. Yeah, that was biased white guy. That was me.
That's exactly it. I
That's what he's
mean,
talking
you
about.
you must be talking about, guys like me and Luca who can only get 18 inches off the ground.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. No, he tested off the charts at the combine. So anyways, all of this information will be in that video, which will become the de facto Joe Wieskamp video profile. I'm really looking forward to it.
And
Anyways, so someone said white man can jump.
white man
And
can't jump. But the
um
one time he played in Minnesota, and it
yeah,
was Scotty, him on the court with no Fred and
it was
Pascal.
great. Yeah.
Dude, Barnes looked like we saw that was the most flashing besides the playoffs, the game one. That was the
Mhm.
most of a flash in the pan of what Scotty could be.
Absolutely.
In like 3 minutes, we saw it, and he just took over the game. And then Bet on Yourself came back on the court, and everything went to shit at the end of that game. But
Yep.
and I agree with you. These past two games, the front office are looking like complete idiots. Like,
Yep.
and we're gonna win. We're gonna make the play in because, let me see, Chicago is ahead of us right now. Indiana,
Mhm.
right? Washington. There's Washington. There's Portland that are slightly behind us.
Right.
Utah is behind us.
Mhm.
Oklahoma City is behind us. Yeah, we're in the play-in, buddy. We're
You
in the
know what's really worrying me right now?
We can lose. We're gonna be under 500 from here on out and be in the play-in. I believe that.
Number one, that. But you know what's worrying me the most? I was thinking about next season. And we don't have a draft pick
Yeah.
unless we finish bottom
We're,
five,
we're,
which
we're
we
the
probably
Chicago
won't.
Bulls. We're the Chicago Bulls this year. We're the Los Angeles Lakers this year. We're not going to be good, but we can't be. We either have to be really bad or make the playoffs. I don't like that. I don't like being in that position ever.
Me neither. And the protection is the part that's really throwing me off out of this. Like, I was like, there's no way they didn't lottery protect that pick. And they didn't. And it's like a top 6 protection. And I'm
You
just
don't
like,
think they
oh
could
my
have
God.
done a pick swap? You don't think they could have just done a pick swap?
No, I don't think they could have done a pick
Because
swap. Why would a pick swap?
Because San Antonio's would have been worse anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that the pick swap would have helped us.
No. They get to decide where to activate it. Right? It's on them if they want to accept the pick
Yeah,
swap.
but if you have no expectation in a million years that the other team
Yeah.
is going to be worse than you, then the pick swap doesn't mean a lot. I think like a pick swap in 2028 or something crazy like that might have helped,
I don't see,
ease
like,
it. But
this is crazy. Like, is there a possibility that Pirtle could have been a buyout candidate?
no,
Why not?
I-
He's
I-
not. He's not. Do you think he's going to re-sign with the Spurs in the summer? If he stays?
that doesn't even matter. There were a lot of offers for him. So they were definitely going to take one of those offers.
Okay.
The Raptors unfortunately came in with the best offer. There was the only team that was offering multiple draft picks. Like I think there was another team that offered a more protected first, but they weren't willing to offer a protected first plus 2 seconds. They will obviously buy out Kem Birch at some point. I'm pretty sure they'll buy out Kem Birch if they're not going to use him.
Was getting rid of Kem Birch worth what we gave up for? It's not. Like, just let him
No,
expire.
it's not. I mean, he wouldn't have expired, but yeah.
No, like,
Look,
let him
like I mean,
expire
at the end
next
of the
year.
day, if this front office has already kind of made their mind up about Fred and allowing Fred to stay on the team is sort of like, hey, Pascal, we want to make sure that we take care of you by keeping your buddy on this team. I have to say, I think Fred has burned his bridges here. I could be wrong, and I have been wrong. I mean, I was positive they were going to trade someone at the deadline, and I was wrong. And, I was positive that they would protect that first round pick, at least top 10, and I was wrong. So, you know what? After years of almost always being right about what this front office is going to do, I am sailing in dark waters or blind. I'm sailing blind in these waters. I don't know what this front office is thinking with this move. But if it's a favor to Pascal to not trade Fred and bring Jakob in, I don't understand why you're doing this guy favors, like, personally.
Me neither. He's nowhere good enough to be doing favors for or getting.
Yeah, like
special
I would totally understand if this was kind of like a favor to Kawhi,
Yeah,
or a
like
LeBron or
bringing-
Giannis.
it's like
Like superstars do get a couple
bringing
of those
Kawhi's
favors. Let's be
assistant
real.
Coach. It's like bringing Kawhi's assistant coach. That makes sense.
Exactly. But like this
But we didn't
does
give up
not
the
make
top
sense.
6 protected first round to bring his buddy.
Yeah, and my biggest fear is that like I'm looking ahead at next year, right? You got OG potentially disgruntled. You got Fred VanVleet possibly walking for nothing. You got Jakob Poeltl 28 and beyond, and who knows if this decline that he's on could continue. You have Pascal Siakam, who may or may not get his contract extension this offseason. My money is on he probably will get it. I hope it's not 35%. I hope it's 30%. I mean, I really hope it's 20. I hope it's 20%, but
If
obviously
these
it's not
guys
going
have,
to happen.
if this front office has balls, it's going to be less than 30%. If they have balls,
Yeah. I mean, they can't. I don't think they can, man. I think unfortunately it's just
the market's going to dictate he gets at least 30.
I don't think they have the balls to let him test his value on the market. If they had the balls, they would actually say, okay, go out and prove to us that you're a
And
max player by getting a
and
max contract.
and
But the problem
Indiana's
is
going
he's
to
not a
throw that.
restricted free agent though. He's an
Yeah.
unrestricted free agent. So you have zero
Indiana
leverage here.
or Charlotte or who knows, San Antonio.
Someone will pay him a max. I'm
Yes,
telling
yeah,
you,
yeah.
someone's desperate enough to do it because they have a young emerging star and they're just like, this is our final piece, right? But I don't think anyone's paying him to be what we're paying him to be, which is the de facto guy, you know, on this team.
Do you think they overvalue their guys?
Hell yeah. No, absolutely.
To me,
Look, I mean, I will definitely get into it. Did you watch the video yesterday that I released?
yes.
Okay, so believe it or not, there was like all this shit that I left on the cutting board, and today I was just like, you know, I don't want to regret this. I'm gonna make a part 2 of that video. So I recorded a part 2 of that video, and in that part 2 of that video, I go into 5 consistent blind spots that this front office has had, and it's remarkably coherent. It's a lot less rambly and a lot less historic. So that'll come out at some point this week too. I already recorded it today.
I
But
know
one
who three
one
are.
of the
I
things.
know who 3 are, but go ahead.
Okay, give me your blind.
It's the holy trinity that you talk about. It's the holy trinity: Nurse, Fred, and Pascal.
No,
Those
no, no,
three
no,
are
no.
blind spots.
Yes, yes, definitely. But what do you think are the 5 mistakes that this front office and this coaching staff has consistently, as a brain trust, made over the years repetitively? If you had to guess,
Okay.
what would you say those 5 mistakes are? I'm very curious to know if you guess them. I'll tell you if you guess it right, but if you guess it wrong, I'm not going to tell you what the other answer is.
Okay, so it's letting guys walk for free
That's not one of
from
them.
the
Okay.
championship floor. Okay, not trading guys at their peak value and letting them devalue. I think Fred was at his peak.
If you were on Family Feud, I give you like an that's a maybe on that one. Okay, cool.
Overplaying starters and not developing bench players. I think we don't develop our bench. I don't think we instill confidence in our bench.
Okay.
To me, Malachi Flynn could be could be a more confident player, but there's just no minutes. There's no consistency. Yeah, those are the ones that come to mind for me.
Interesting. None of those are what I was talking about. So maybe the 5 blind spots that I'm talking about are need to be amended to 8, 9 blind spots, because I don't think you're wrong. They haven't developed a bench properly, but I don't think that that's been a consistent thing.
We have talent.
But I mean, I don't think that's been a consistent thing. They developed Norman Powell. He was on the bench. Serge Ibaka, you know, for a while was on the bench. You know,
But this
Jakob
is the newer
Poeltl.
era. This is the new era. This is the post-championship.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying this is what are the 5 things that they have consistently gotten wrong for 10 plus years? That's
Okay,
what I was
10
talking
plus
about.
years. Okay.
Aha. Darrow got one. Yes.
Is it the whole getting athletes that can't shoot that are long and dying on that
you
hill?
guys are saying literally the same thing. Yeah, Darrow's saying drafting length and athleticism
Yeah.
over skill. Yes, that is one of them. And it's so interesting when you really go back and look at like who they drafted over who they didn't draft, etc. That there is a very common trend in that. Anyways, no spoilers, but that's definitely one of the blind spots. No, look, it was very interesting, and I started the show out by saying that I really respect Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster and Nick Nurse. I really do respect people who are great at what they do, people who aspire and work super hard. I mean, I watched that story about Nick Nurse, and you know, he's like such an inspiration in a lot of ways too. Like he travels around the world, he works his ass off, he goes to the G League, he's got all these crazy ideas. Like he brings Nate Bjorkgren with him, this whole Iowa story with those two, you know, they basically grew up like 20 miles away from each other, and then they found their way in the NBA, and they're coaching against each other in the G League, and then they make it to the Raptors, and it's like it's such a cool story. And then all the while he's doing this, like he's getting his degree and he's a musician. You know what I mean? Like there's so much to admire there in a human being, you know? But you know, it sucks with rotations. Like it's like
I think when Fred, I think we can all agree almost with 100%. I think 95% of us believe Fred is gone this summer with sign and trade or he walks for free. And I think most of the disgruntled issues on this team kind of go when he leaves. I think OG will be happier on his contract year here. If I think Barnes will be happier. It's like 37 minutes gone, like 20 shots a game gone. So much of the ball handling and dribbling gone. I think so much is resolved if he leaves. So much.
yeah.
Him and Thad needs to go. If we're keeping Pirtle, we got to get rid of Thad. There's no point in having all these guys that can shoot with Pascal and Scotty. Like he has to go. He has to go.
What did you think of Jakob's defense today? Like, can he do anything for us? Like, given the point of attack issues that this team is facing, given the switches and how easily Fred VanVleet is surrendering those, he's completely helpless in the paint. You know, one of the things that I really found was really good about Joe Wieskamp as I was like watching him is he's not like some great defender. I'm not suggesting that he's OG Anunoby or even relatively close to it, but he is a positive defender with positive length, positive hops. He can rebound for you. It's not something you usually get from guards on this team. Malachi Flynn, Fred VanVleet, not really good rebounders per se, historically. I know Fred VanVleet's had a couple of like 8-9 rebound games this year, but mainly that's just him like getting a rebound because somebody else did all the boxing out for him, right? But like for real, like and I think that he actually has a chance to guard in the paint a little bit.
And with the way they call fouls on bigs, it's like reduces his value even more. Like Pirtle basically gets a foul call on basically every other time he has to rotate.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, everyone is talking about like how terrible you know, it would be for him being in San Antonio, right? Because their defense sucks and whatever. But it's like it's still Popovich, right? Like it's still Popovich. It's bad, but it's still
They get more
Pop.
respect. They get more respect.
Maybe they get more respect. Maybe they have better schemes sometimes. You know, it's like it's hard for me to look at this and say that he's having an easier time here than he was having there.
No, he has to try to clean up a lot, and he's not what he once was. So
yeah,
he can't. There's a lot of things he has to clean up when he's on the court, and it's asking a lot of a guy who looks like he's past his prime.
Yeah. Someone asked the question, what is 30% of the cap for Siakam's contract? So I'm just going to lay out his contract just for anyone who's kind of curious what his next contract's going to look like. Coach Mo, I hope you're not faint of heart.
Okay, while you do that, let me ask you this question. Let's say by hypothetically he gets all NBA. He closes the season really strong. We get the play-in, we win the play-in, and we make a competitive 6-round matchup, 6-round series in the first round, and he gets all NBA 13, and he's eligible for the 35% max. Do you think he'll accept 30% from us?
No.
You think he'll take it as a slight and leave?
Yep.
Well, then he can go.
Yeah. If you look at your screen, that's his contract. So the first one would be if he makes all NBA.
You're telling me after everything he's been given on this team, now obviously he's earned a lot, but Pascal's kind of like DeMar. No other team would have done what we've done for him. And
I disagree. I genuinely think that DeMar could have signed a max with somebody else when he stayed.
No, I'm not saying he couldn't have signed a max. I'm not saying.
Are you telling me you think Pascal Siakam would have gotten a max?
No, the years we allowed DeMar to develop, I don't think he would have been in that role maybe in other situations or given opportunities as often, right? Because you think DeMar's career would have turned out this way if he got drafted in another team?
Yes.
I think he's really fortunate.
Genuinely, I believe yes. I've tracked DeMar DeRozan since Compton.
Okay, so
Compton High School. So I've been watching him for 2 years prior to when he got to the league.
He was a lottery pick, so.
I mean, he was widely famous.
Okay, same question with Pascal.
I don't know. I've never seen Pascal in another situation.
Do you think Pascal owes this organization anything?
No, I don't think he owes us anything. I don't think we owe him anything. I don't
So
like to
he should.
mix
Yeah,
emotions.
no, I agree. I agree. So if we offer him 30 when he's eligible for the supermax, he's rightfully should feel slighted and leave to take 30 and less years on another team.
He genuinely believes he's an all NBA performer, and if he gets 35, then he is an all NBA performer, and that would be the third time he's made all NBA.
Mhm.
I mean, you can go down the list. There aren't a lot of players who made all NBA 3 times. He would be very justified in believing, right or wrong,
What would
that
you do in
he
that
is
situation? What
him.
would you do in that situation? You're Bobby Webster. He made All NBA. We lost in the first round. He's looking at for the extension. He wants 35%. What do you do?
Bro, I build a time machine and I trade him at the deadline like I was wanting us to do. Like, I mean, and if I can't build a time machine and such technology is not available to me, then I tell him, we would like to, we still have 1 year on your contract. Where would you like to go? Give us a list of 5 destinations and we'll try to make a deal work. That's what I would do. I don't care. Like, I mean, dude, uh, I'm watching players score 40, 42 points, 43 points per game. You know who I'm talking about, the last 3 games.
By the way,
Uh,
here's a fun fact. Here's a fun fact. How many times has
okay, Gone, can you please stop talking about aliens, bro?
how
Like,
many times has
please
Cam
stop.
Johnson? How many times
Pardon?
has Cam Thomas? Is it Cam Thomas?
Yep.
How many times has Cam Thomas scored 40 plus this season? How many times has Pascal scored 40 plus this
Is
season?
this trivia?
Trivia.
Pascal, I know he scored 40 plus against New York because he scored
Yeah.
52.
Mhm.
Has he scored 40 plus any other time?
Nope.
I
One
think,
time. One time.
okay, so
In a league where people are scoring 70, 60, record-breaking numbers of 50-point games. He went over 40 once. Cam Thomas, 3 times.
in a row, by the way,
In a
40
row.
games in a row.
That lets you
And
know his top-end talent, what Pascal's made of. He's given free reign to do anything on a team that's not that good. He should have, if he is who he thinks he is, he should have like 40, 50-point games by now. I'm dead serious. But he's not.
did you say 20, 40-point games?
No. He should have like at least 4 50-point games.
Oh, 4
If he's a
50-point
true
games.
first option, if a real first option, like a
He's
true,
also a facilitator, man. I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't you know me. I don't
Okay.
rate these 40, 50,
yeah,
whatever. I
get
don't really
that.
care.
One 40-point game, dude. One.
Okay. Like I
One.
personally I don't care how many 40-point games he has. I don't care if he has 20 40-point games. I care how efficiently he scores, number 1, how easily he scores, because you know what the truth is? Superstars get easy shots. Have you noticed that? They always get easy shots. They make hard shots too, don't get me wrong, but they also get easy ones. He doesn't get any easy ones. It's something that I've talked about ad nauseum at this point. He doesn't get anything like easy. Everything is
Well said.
self-generated, super hard. It's just awkward. It's really awkward. It's clunky. It takes a lot of effort. And frankly, he's just going harder than most guys. On most nights, I'm just being honest. He's just going harder.
He's not
He's
smart either because guards will be. They'll have a guard on him at the perimeter, and he tries to take them off the dribble. I don't think.
okay. Jason Choi saying Pascal's behind the back pass was sick. Oh my God.
That was a turnover.
That was a turnover, dude.
He
It
lost
was
the ball.
not a no look behind the back. He tried to play it off like this
Yeah, you can see
afterwards.
him smiling.
That
He
was
was
not a
laughing.
pass, bro.
He was smiling because he knew.
He knew that was not a pass. Oh my God. That I promise you that was not a pass. That was a turnover. Literally got poked out of his hands. I will slow that play down and I will play it back for you in a low light film at some point.
How many? Ask this guy how many Jokic-like passes Doncic
Raptors Nation, it was a pass. Okay, Coach Mo, can you please tell these people
No,
it
it
was
wasn't.
not a pass, bro?
He tried to put it behind his back and he lost it.
There's a reason why the fucking commentators who are his basically like his paid spokesmen were wondering if that would count as an assist and they were laughing. And you got to be fucking kidding me.
Yeah, that was a turnover. But to that guy who said that was a pass, we see Scotty make like Jokic-like passes regularly. How many times do you see Pascal make passes where you're like, oh my God?
Okay, like I mean, obviously none because he doesn't see and
That's what I'm saying. That's
it is what it is. Look, I mean,
those 8-9 assist games. Sometimes I feel like Barnes is forced. There are games where Barnes has like 3 assists, and there was a game where he had like 3 and Pascal had 9. And I thought to myself, Barnes was a better playmaker today, even though the gap in assists was like 5-6. There were those games. I felt.
Yeah, I mean, Scotty was interesting today, right? It's difficult, right? When
That dude
you're
turns
young, and
crumbs. That dude turns crumbs, and he just bakes a cake some games. I swear to God.
I didn't like his turnovers tonight.
No, no, no. They were yeah.
No, like that last one, I was surprised by that. There was a couple actually. There were a couple, and there was also one of his turnovers was obviously an offensive foul. That was like very obvious. He looked very frustrated.
I'm liking the 3-point shot though. Like, I'm liking the 3-point shot.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. I think I just completely lost the internet for a bit there. Anyway, thanks for calling in, man.
Enjoy the Super Bowl.
I appreciate it.
Who you with?
I think
Who you with for the Super Bowl?
honestly, I don't know anything about the Super Bowl. Who's
Okay.
playing? Who's playing?
Kansas City Chiefs versus
What is the Super Bowl? Is this some sort of baseball match? Is this some sort of soccer match? What's going on in the Super Bowl?
American football.
American football. All right, nice. What's that? It's like rugby, right? It's kind of like rugby.
Yes, it's like
Nice. All
it's
right.
American rugby.
Nice. American rugby. I appreciate it. I'm just kidding. Obviously, I know what the Super Bowl is. I have no idea who's playing. I have not been following it at all. I've been way too obsessed, trying to understand Fred and Pascal. Yeah, and basketball.
It's gonna be interesting. What did you think of the starting lineup, real quick? Just mega
Jakob,
jumbo, mega
ja-
jumbo.
Jakob, Precious, Pascal, Scotty, and Fred.
Yeah,
That starting lineup. Well, I'm curious to know what it's gonna be when everyone's healthy.
yeah.
I don't think Precious is keeping his starting spot, even though
No.
he should. He should. I mean, I can say he should, but then of course the onus is then on me of who's going to the bench. OG's not going to the bench.
No, it's not.
I think
It's between Scotty, Precious, and Gary. Two of those three are coming off the bench.
if politics didn't exist, the people who should come off the bench are pretty obvious, right?
Fred.
Fred and Jakob should probably come off the bench.
Yeah.
And if it's like a really big dude, maybe you swap Jakob and Precious. But like in all honesty, like I hate that politics exist in sports. I wish this was like college basketball because I swear to God, there's such strong like okay. Imagine a lineup of and I know it's like really hypothetical, like it's a really far-fetched lineup and no one will ever agree that this is even reasonable and people will think I'm absolutely insane. Imagine a starting lineup of Scotty,
Pascal.
Scotty, Gary, Wieskamp, OG, and Pascal.
Man, you know what?
Like you could space out and Scotty and Pascal could actually attack gaps with 3 shooters around them. Like offensively, I feel like that could work.
This team could, you know how they like to juggle the present and the future together? They're in between timelines. If they really, you can thread that needle really well. If you just have Fred and Pascal, you marry their minutes together, like you attach their 37 minutes to the hip, and then the remaining, what is that, 3 plus 8, what is that, 11 minutes? Those 11 minutes, you have Scotty, Wieskamp, Gary, OG, and like Achua or whatever. You let those guys run.
Okay, this lineup that Erica put on here: Scotty, Gary, OG, Siakam, Precious. So what about some variation of this of Scotty, Wieskamp, OG, Siakam, and Jakob?
No Siakam.
That could be interesting because that would be a lot of movement.
No Siakam. Replace Siakam with Precious.
You're not starting Siakam?
No. I'm talking about the bench lineup.
No, I'm not talking about the bench lineup. I'm talking about I'm talking about the starting lineup. What about Scotty, Wieskamp, OG, Pascal, and Jakob? You would have spacing, you would have screening, you would have 2 straight line drivers, and you would have a ton of shooting. Plus, off your bench, you would have Fred, Gary, and Precious. Probably the best bench in the NBA. I think that solves everything. To be honest, I think that solves everything. That lineup would be amazing. Man, we'd be a good team. Should I coach this team? Should I put my application in for MLSE? Let's do it.
You know what? Actually, here's a better Scotty bench lineup. Scotty at point, Wieskamp at the 2, OG at the 3, Boucher at the 4, and no, I don't know. But I want Jakob at the 5. Who should be the 4 on that lineup?
Pascal.
Pascal at the 4? Okay. I just feel like Pascal might, be a ball stopper, and I want to see.
You pretty much just said the same lineup I was thinking about. I mean, if Pascal's a ball stopper, what the fuck is Boucher?
Yeah, but Boucher, he's not. His opportunities to stop the ball aren't great. So
I feel like I just want people who do the right things. Like I feel bad for Jakob because I'm watching him play basketball and I'm like, this guy's doing the right things. I mean, he's on the wrong team for sure with the wrong players, but he's doing a lot of the right stuff.
Let's go back to that bench lineup. So Scotty at the 1, Wieskamp at the 2, OG at the 3, Jakob at the 5. Who's the 4 if it's not Siakam?
If it's not Siakam, why are we relegated to not starting Pascal Siakam? He's obviously going to start.
Lineup. This is a bench lineup where the 2 are 2.
Oh, okay.
Guys aren't. Who should be the 4 there?
Precious.
Okay.
Easy. Precious.
I think that lineup will do damage.
Yeah.
Damage.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could, and I like the fact that Scotty ran point a little bit with Fred running off ball today. I like that. Like I saw a little bit of that, and that was cool too. Anyway, Coach Mo, we're gonna let these people get to the Super Bowl, and onwards and upwards. I don't know when the next game is. When is it? On Tuesday, Wednesday?
And Boucher needs to, when he gets a rebound, dude, look up the courts. Put your head up. Jeez.
Man, I have never seen. I can't remember the last time I saw a team butcher so many opportunities in transition.
Yeah. They need to dribble the ball and feel it, and the guy who hurts the most. It's just sad watching people not do for Scotty what Scotty does for them on a regular basis. It's so sad.
Well, I mean, look, didn't you like that first pass that Jakob made to Scotty where he just goes and just gets that dunk, or I think he found him underneath the basket, and I was just like, oh, that's nice. Someone did it for him, That's cool. Like it's a good thing. The Raptors have their next game on Tuesday against the red hot Orlando Magic, and then of course they have 9 days off for the All-Star break.
Yes.
That is going to be very interesting. Then they're back in action against the Pelicans, then Pistons, then the Cavaliers, then the Bulls, then the Wizards. The Bulls, Wizards should be interesting.
Cavs got Danny Green.
Yes, they did. And then they're back, Bulls, Wizards. I tell you, Bulls, Wizards, Nuggets could be a death trap for the Raptors. I mean, we're talking Cavs, Bulls, Wizards, Nuggets, Clippers, Lakers, Nuggets. Like, legitimately, that could be 2-6 or 4-4 or 0-8. Like, I have no idea. But the way this team's been playing right now, like, if those teams are really desperate, I got to tell you, like, Bradley Beal, like, Kristaps Porzingis, like, these guys can do some damage, Danny Avdija,
like you did today, you lose those games.
For sure. If you play like you did the last 2 games, you definitely lose those games.
And Westbrook's a bull, apparently. Westbrook's going to be a bull.
No way. Really?
Yeah. It's either Bulls or the Clippers.
Wow. He should go to the Clippers. They don't even have a point guard.
Yeah, but I know.
Quickly, is there anyone on the buyout market that interests you? As in, would you waive Malachi Flynn right now to get more help? Because it doesn't look like. I would honestly.
I would have liked Danny Green, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, I would have liked Danny Green.
What about Terrence Ross? I mean, I think Terrence Ross signed with somebody, but
he's going to Phoenix.
Right. Would you have liked him?
Yeah, but he's done with losing situations.
Oh, is he done with losing situations?
I mean, he's been robbing Orlando for how many years now? Like 6.
Yeah. Are there any buyout candidates that interest you that haven't found a destination yet? For instance, Serge Ibaka.
That dude is a fossil.
He's a fossil.
He's a fossil.
He's better than Kem Birch. Just throwing it out there. Serge versus Kem Birch.
Serge at this point looks like I could imagine him playing, and then
when's the last time you even saw him play?
I know, but I'm saying if I saw him play, I feel like by game 3, he'd just run up the court, and then he'd look like he'd been sniped, and he'd just fall on the floor like Shaq did at the end of his career.
Do you realize he's 30? You realize he's 33 years old, right?
Yeah,
he's a year younger than.
He's perpetually hurt now.
Bro, he's a year younger than Thaddeus Young. I just want to throw that out there. He's 33 years old. I don't know.
I'd take him, but And I like your point about how that caller said, "Oh, he can teach our young guys. Ibaka can do that. Gasol can do that.
Yeah,
Hire
man.
him."
Plus, like he's just he's like he seemed like, at least like I never met Serge. I never had the privilege. Big fan of his
Massive. That
going
dude's
back.
massive.
Yeah, and I mean,
A bus.
pardon?
That dude's massive.
Yeah,
He's massive. Oh my god, that guy's custom everything. Custom front door.
yeah. Erica, he's born in '89, so yes, he's only 33 years old, and that's shocking to me, right? Because I mean, honestly, like I've been following Serge since
That
before he
dude's
got to the NBA, so I feel like I knew about Serge when I was a kid, of course. So I'm assuming that he's younger than me, but he is. Sorry, I'm assuming he's older than me, but he's in fact younger than me. Yeah.
I meant his body is a fossil at this point. Like under 10 minutes, you know. And
I mean,
warm him up,
whatever, right?
warm
Like
him up.
I feel like it's just
Put the bike on the bench and just have him warm up.
I think sometimes, I look at this roster, and this is no offense to Ron Harper Jr., who I'm sure, there's a reason he's on the roster as a two-way
He'll never
contract.
contribute for us in any significant way. I don't think.
How do you know?
I just don't like this. Okay, so Champagny,
Wieskamp
Malachi
was a two-way contract for the Spurs last year, right?
I'm just saying, what proof do we have of Nurse playing? Like the last G League guys to really do it big was the Fred Pascal. I think Pirtle was there a little bit maybe. But
Okay,
it's like,
so on the
we're not doing
broadcast
that
today,
anymore. We're not doing that.
they said Jakob Poeltl played in the G League. I don't remember him playing in the G League. Can anyone confirm for me that he actually played in the
I'm
G
just
League?
guessing. I'm just guessing. But
Yeah, but I mean, like
he's
they
a lottery
said it.
pick. Lottery picks don't play in the G League typically.
They
Right?
usually don't, right? So hold on, let me
Pascal was
just.
a late first. Fred was undrafted, so it makes sense that they have to.
I mean,
earn their strength.
he apparently did play in the G League. Look at this, Jakob Poeltl G League stats. Let's see, what did
But
he?
for our Raptors 905, who apparently,
He played 2 games in the G League. Oh, fuck off.
but it's like
So-
our G League team is apparently always really good. I don't really watch much of them, but we're always like a top seed. We're always
Mhm.
in a hunt for a championship. The last 5-6 years, what G League talent that we developed in the 905 has made an impact on our main roster?
No, that's fair. And I mean, like, look, I really believe in some of these guys. Like, I
They're
don't
not given
necessarily.
a chance. They're not given a chance. There's 4 or 5 guys on this team that play 35 plus minutes, and then the rest get crumbs, and you don't know when you're gonna play, how you're gonna play. Banton gets 2 minutes here. Flynn gets 3 minutes there. Wancho gets 5 minutes here. No, it's like now Thad's back in the rotation after he was DMP CD for a month. Like it's just
Yeah.
if you're betting on bench players' minutes, you're going to lose your house with Nick Nurse. You're going to lose your house.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for sure. I agree with that. Pascal Siakam played 7 games for the 905. That led the 905 that year. He played the most games for the 905. It's crazy to look back on this 2016, 2017 G League roster. That's crazy. Because you think about it and you're like, 2017 is not that long ago, right?
No.
Pascal Siakam was in the G League. And now he's basically like a first option and potentially on the verge of becoming 3-time All-NBA. That's a crazy trajectory.
I don't
I'm
think
not
he's
a
gonna
huge.
make it on
I'm
record
by the way,
books.
I'm not a big Pascal Siakam fan, as you know. I'm just trying to I'm trying to put into context just from 2017 to 2023. That's a pretty seismic jump.
Yeah.
You know.
The
Yeah.
6-year jump. Yeah. Who could have imagined in 6-7 years he'd be 3-time All NBA potentially? Like
That's crazy. Yeah, for sure. I did not see this coming with
crazy.
him. And honestly, like when Kawhi was leaving, and there was that report that he didn't want to play in Toronto with Siakam as his running mate. He wanted someone more established. I was just like, yeah, me too, man. I prefer Paul George over Pascal Siakam for sure.
Mhm.
And I don't even care if it means taking on Russell Westbrook's contract or some shit to get him here. But I did not see this coming from him. So, credit where credit is due for sure. Like, I definitely didn't see this upside. As a final question to you, 2013, 2014 Toronto Raptors versus today's Toronto Raptors. They meet on Tuesday. Who wins? That's
13.
Kyle, DeMar, JV.
That is the
Gravis
first
Vasquez.
year. Yeah, that's the We the North, original We the North.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Gravis
go with
Vasquez.
original. I go with original We the North simply because they were overachievers in many people's eyes, and they were a team. They had leadership. They had a direction. They had belief. This team, it's just like forces fighting against each other within. I think this team will implode in itself.
Yeah.
I go with
no.
and I think this team's more talented. I just think the other team was a better team.
Honestly, this team is so much more talented.
Yes.
It's so ridiculous. Like when you think about the cohesion of the parts, right, and how they need to come together for a team to actually win. There's so many things that I'm watching. You know, it's weird because you watch too much Raptors basketball, you forget what basketball is supposed to be played like. And I encourage anybody out there to go back and just watch one game from the 18-19 Raptors or
18-19 Raptors beats this team by 25, easy.
for sure that. But I think like go watch 18-19 Raptors. But even yeah, I mean like people don't
They'd
give
be on a
enough.
7-game win streak right now. They'd be like on a 7-game win streak right now with this schedule. That team, they'd be on a 7-game win streak. That's how we used to get to like 55 wins every year.
No, that's for sure. I mean, those days are at least temporarily behind us. But I firmly believe that if we head into this offseason with a clear vision of, okay, we don't mind letting Fred walk for nothing. I mean, we would prefer to get a sign and trade, but we're not going to overextend ourselves. We signed Siakam to hopefully a reasonable contract. I know that 30% is not going to be, it's not going to win fans with me, but I vastly prefer it to 35, maybe just the lesser of two evils in that case. And maybe hopefully, he has a good year next year and you can maybe consider moving off of him at that point. I don't know.
Do you consider Fred in his prime?
Yeah, he's in his prime.
So replace Fred with Lowry in his prime. What's our record right now?
So 18-19 Lowry on this team instead of Fred.
Yeah, and Lowry that year was like 14 and
honestly
change,
Lowry's best
assists.
season was 16-17.
Yeah.
So 18-19 was like still great Lowry, but kind of
Playmaking
on the
Lowry.
decline.
Backseat Lowry.
Yeah, he took a back seat. If you could put 16-17 Lowry or 15-16 Lowry, if you could put that version of Kyle Lowry on this team, probably third in the East, maybe fourth.
I believe it. And Barnes would be better than he is right now.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, like, I think Lowry would have for sure. Like,
OG
I don't know.
would be better than what he is right now. So would Precious. And OG.
Precious definitely would. Yeah, I think. Yeah, man. I look forward to the day where this roster is sort of turned over to more competent, selfless hands, and hopefully we'll see more guys thrive. It's really difficult to put a seed on concrete and then water it every single day and ask why the hell is it not growing. You do need an environment for things to grow, and I don't know. Every time I look at that bench and they're cheering for some ISO play, and I'm just like, God bless these guys, man. It seems like the Raptors really just drafted a whole bunch of really nice dudes and signed a whole bunch of really nice dudes. They seem like such genuinely nice people, right?
If you notice, the bench only goes crazy when it's like a Scotty Barnes dunk or a Boucher dunk or Precious dunk.
No,
right?
I mean, they might go crazy for that, but they seem to celebrate Fred VanVleet hitting a three. I mean, they seemed pretty excited about it. I found that somewhat surprising. Personally, I was like, huh, that's cool. That's interesting. Because there was a vibe earlier in the season where, Fred could do whatever the hell and the bench was not really reacting to it. But it seems lately like people are giving him dabs and helping him up and, cheering him on. So, maybe it's just been accepted that he won't be here. And, you give the grandfather, his last 26, 25 games, whatever, to do what he's doing. I mean, he shot well, right? But I just feel like him playing the way he plays sometimes really just kills. Pardon?
26 shots. With 7 free throws.
Yeah,
That's
like crazy usage. No, I agree.
That's like 30 attempts. That's like 30 attempts.
Yeah, no, for sure. are you LZ saying Masai said it himself? He just punked out and called everyone selfish.
Like the cowardly media, they just never say his name. He's like, they never call him out specifically, so they just.
Yeah, no, look, I really believe that if you're gonna call your entire team selfish and it's not your entire team, it's just 4 or 5 people or 2, 3 people, I think you should call it the 2, 3 people or not call it out at all. It's a misdirection. I think it's misleading. I don't think it's fair, and I don't think it's right. If you want to keep it in house, keep it in house. Talk to the guys privately. But do not say that your team is selfish, because you genuinely, I would feel like if I was, one of the people like Thaddeus Young or Scotty Barnes on this team, or Jeff Doughton, or, anyone who's genuinely trying to move the ball, I'd be like, whoa, 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 why? Why all of us, right? I don't know. Somebody, I don't remember who, it may have been Tamberlin, it may have been Erica, I don't know who messaged me this thing about Nick Nurse's book. It might have been you. I have no idea. Somebody messaged me this thing about in Nick Nurse's book. He has this topic. He has I think, a carving of an elephant on his desk. Do you know the story?
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically a reminder that every organization, can someone in the chat who's read Nick Nurse's book? Can you remind me again? I'm a little bit sleepy right now, unfortunately. So running on very little sleep. So there's this thing about how he has this elephant on his desk because basically he says that great organizations often are spoiled by not addressing the elephant in the room. And I just thought it was sort of ironic that he is so keenly aware of the elephant in the room and the concept of the elephant in the room and the need to address it, and not being able to do so. That's sort of sad.
Do you ever get the feeling that Fred could cost Nurse's job? His loyalty.
He may very well do so, but you know what? They'll both have new jobs within a week. I promise you that. Nick Nurse will find work very soon. NBA champion, he is widely credited as one of the smartest coaches in the NBA. He is correctly or incorrectly given a lot of credit for how the Raptors shut down Giannis Antetokounmpo. It doesn't really matter that people have figured it out by now, but he's considered very innovative. He's one of the highest paid coaches in the NBA as well. I think he makes $8 million. He renegotiated his contract. I got to tell you, there's a couple of really bad coaches in the NBA that would lose their job this second he becomes available. So yeah, but I think there's a lot of young blood, young talent out there. We're seeing it with Joe Mazzulla. Pardon?
If we had Ime Udoka, do you think he'd do a better job this year?
I'm sure a lot of people could do a better job. I don't think that this organization would hire Ime Udoka with everything that's happened.
The relationships, I think, are what are destroying this team, and I think you agree. It's the relationships. It's the loyalty to certain guys, when it's obvious you
might not even have to fire Nick Nurse this offseason. You might just resign. You get rid of Fred. He may want to move on too. This might just not. It might not just work out. Look, I think it's very rare for a coach to last 5 years.
He's not having fun. Nurse doesn't look like he's having fun.
He looks stressed. He looks stressed.
Yes.
And I mean, he's losing. So, but it's weird. He kind of looks stressed when he's winning too. He doesn't look happy ever. And maybe that's just part of who he is. I can't necessarily say I've cross-referenced what he was like in 18-19, but it felt like progressively year after year, this is wearing on him a lot. And to be honest, it's a lot of it is self-inflicted. And I've been talking to a lot of people recently who have much more of a background in athletics and sports backgrounds and stuff. And I was talking about this notion of playing guys too many minutes and how it impacts, fatigue and injury rates and whatever. And I'm like, is there such a huge difference between 36 and 38 minutes? Because it seems sort of arbitrary and abstract. And it just sounds like something to complain about on Reddit, but not substantial enough to be making real talking points out of it. And people and the people I talked to were like, yeah, that progressive overload really can break bodies down. Those 2 extra minutes do add up. So yeah, that was really interesting.
Do you remember when people were having these talking points that were real, and the players and the coaches were talking about, and the front office lowering Fred's minutes? And that went out the window so fast.
I mean, how many minutes did he play tonight?
37.
Pascal Siakam 38 minutes, Fred VanVleet 37 minutes,
Against the
Scotty Barnes
Pistons.
37
Against
minutes.
the Pistons at home.
I mean, in fairness, OG's out, Gary's out. I would like to see how many minutes those guys play when they're healthy. I will tell you, though,
Sure.
however, that if they continue to play 38 minutes a night when those guys get healthy, that would be ridiculous. Anyway, Coach Mo, thanks for calling in. To everyone out there, go check out the Super Bowl and, you know, watch whatever you're watching. I am going to go to sleep. I'm tired. All right. Take care, Mo.
Good night.
Have a good night, man. Cheers. Alrighty. Be on the lookout for the Joe Wieskamp video. It will be coming out tomorrow, I believe. Don't quote me on that. Maybe it'll come out the next day, but it will come out at some point this week. And part 2 of that video that I released yesterday, which talks about the 5 consistent blind spots that the Raptors front office has had, will also be coming out. And if you haven't watched that video, definitely give it a listen. I'm really proud of it. You know, I think it was long overdue. And I hope that nobody walks away from it thinking that I'm throwing Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster under the bus, or that I don't think that they're really smart or anything like that. I know I've addressed that point already. I don't want to repeat myself, but I think it's worth repeating that we live in a world of black and white where, you know, if you're just remotely critical of something, it's like, oh, you hate it or you love it. No, there's varying degrees of gray in this. And so, yeah, can be very deeply appreciative and respect somebody a lot, but also, like, you know, be critical of certain things they do. Anyway, Daryl, thank you so much. Hit the like button, everybody. Big shout outs to K Money and everyone who gave a super chat. I think we went over $300 for this chat. That's crazy. Yeah, we're doing really well this month, guys. Like we're already past, for the super chats, we're already past our December total, and we're 11 days into the month. 12 days into the month? Yeah, this is February 12th. 12 days into this month, we've already passed December total. It's crazy. So thank you to everyone who does this. It's totally appreciated. And yeah, I had no idea this even existed when we started doing these lives. And then, yeah, so thank you very much. And please make sure to hit the like button. It is totally free. And to the 160 of you here, enjoy the Super Bowl, and I'll catch you on Tuesday after we face the Magic. Cheers.